Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. For joining us for another episode of Press. We've got guest tonight, Shawn Bishop from Mamelodi Sundowns. He's head of methodology and the head of the academy, who we'll be chatting to tonight. But we've also got our usual suspects here. The Man United fan in the top right corner, Celo. How you doing, mate? Are you all right?
I'm all good. I'm all good. But for the purposes of tonight's discussion, I'm the Kaizer Chiefs supporter. I'm a Kusi for life.
That's going to be a hot topic. And then obviously we've got Claudio Barrera flying tonight, hopefully, in the derby against Everton. Obviously very excited to have Shawn on the show. Very well-known person within academy and youth football within South Africa, and more recently with the women's game, especially with Mamelodi Sundowns conquering Africa more recently. But welcome, Shawn. How are you doing? Are you well this evening?
Thanks for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. But yeah, let's kick it off. I thought I'd sort of just, let the viewers know, sort of us sitting here tonight. Tell us who Shawn Bishop is. Who are you? What have you done? What has led you to Mamelodi Sundowns?
First and foremost, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to this hour we're going to have together. Some fun discussing football and South African football, from academies to the women's game. But about myself, first and foremost, I'm a father and husband to two beautiful boys, and my wife, Yolanda. First tip to give you as a football coach: get a woman that supports you, that she knows that you are in.
That's a tough thing to do. One that also understands the life of football as well. I think that's very tricky.
Absolutely. Doesn't ask you where you are every weekend, as you all know. Nick knows football's an 8-day-a-week job. So first and foremost that, and then of course, as Nick's already alluded to, head of methodology and academy at Mamelodi Sundowns, responsible for the training program and the academy at Sundowns. Basically everyone below the first team, including the ladies team, which the club have made a considerable investment into an effort over the last 2 years. With their fantastic technical team, Jerry Chabalala, Agnes Nkosi, Depua, Nokbonga, Charlie, everyone who has contributed to that team and their Champions League success. And of course, the players have been phenomenal this season. They finished their second last game today. They won 5-2 in Dar today with Andersi. We're closing on top of the Golden Boot. She got another 2 today. So with the final game against my Indies on Sunday, hopefully wrap up the league, win the treble this season, and set the standard for the men's team. Hopefully they can emulate them. No pressure. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's, Shawn, I've been telling the guys on the show, we obviously deal with each other, every week or so, chatting about players. And obviously we've got a partnership now at the University of Pretoria with Mamelodi Sundowns. But I think the guys are quite interested to find out, your sort of pathway in terms of how you got involved in football. Obviously, Connor Keylock, who I coach, I've actually got a special sort of what he did for me in this last campaign. I've got a special place for him in my heart. He told me you actually started out at Panorama. That's his recollection of you. You sort of coached there. If the guys and the viewers don't know, Panorama is an amateur football club in Johannesburg. But obviously Panorama is still an amateur football club, still playing in the local LFAs. But now you've sort of graduated to the biggest team. Celo might not agree, but the biggest team and club in Africa.
Definitely in Pretoria.
Let's go for the biggest club in Pretoria.
Yeah, but how did you find yourself at Mamelodi Sundowns? You know, like did you play?
It's an interesting
I
story.
try to figure out. Did you play professionally? From what I understand, you might not have. I don't know if you played at a level.
Yeah.
What is your football background?
No, I played. I was rubbish, but I played the game. Yeah, but at a decent level, ABC, or at that stage then the Vodacom League. Was for a short while at Pretoria City, but yeah, I always seem to understand the game better than even the coaches who were coaching me at that time. And you know, it's like a bias you have. You feel something's not right, but you just cannot explain why. And then got interested in coaching. I was at University of Pretoria as a student and graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in genetics and microbiology from the university, but always wanted to be in football. Yes, I coached Connor as a young boy at Panorama, got into football at under 9 level. And to be honest, I think that's where all football coaches should get in. Those boys will absolutely humble you. They don't care who you are, where you've been from. All they want to do is play football and have fun. And it's always a good frame of reference for a coach who aspires to be at a high level. I progressed up the coaching ranks at Panorama, going on to take on their reserve team for a while. And at that time, I gave debuts to 14-year-old boys in the senior team. And yeah, of course, was called in by the club management and everything. What am I doing? And fortunately, 3 of those boys are still involved in professional football. Shane played for Cosmos, debuted for Bafana. Darian Wilkin is the head of analysis at Orlando Pirates. So these are boys who went on to be involved in football. Russell Thompson at Amazulu, goalkeeper coach. So that's the effect of the development I was doing there at that time. And then got into what can I say? I think they're called the district sides now. Rand Central district sides.
Yes.
Yeah. So I took the under 17 Rand Central team in 2006 or 7. I can't remember. And we were one of those special teams. And I'd known 6 months before then that we were going to be in the tournament. I changed the training program of the select boys. We trained 4 days a week. I was paying for them to travel. It was you guys all know the story. We got to Engine. We lost to Orlando Pirates in the final 1-0. Along the way, I knocked out Kaizer Chiefs.
Silo, how do you like that? How do you like them apples?
I started there. And
they dominated him this season, so it's okay.
Yeah. And then in the semis, I knocked Sundowns out. I beat them 2-0 in the semis with amateur kids, and then lost to Pirates in the final. Whether it was a goal or not is another thing. But yes, immediately afterwards, I'd already started working with a gentleman by the name of Stephen Haupt, who established the academy at Tuks. He was already established
at Tuks. Well, yeah.
Yeah, top man. Probably the best youth development mind in this country. And then joined his Vodacom team, or whilst he was still coaching at Tuks, went to Bay Hill with him. And yeah, on my return, I got a call from Trot Malotto, please come to Sundowns and have an interview with the club. Went and had the interview. They placed me at the Mamelodi Satellites in Pretoria. I was the under 11 training twice a week with Themba Mnguni. And at the time, the club had just signed a partnership agreement with the Johan Cruyff Foundation. And 4 Barcelona coaches were placed at the club for 5 years. And at that time, I was working with them, Enrique Duran, who is now the head of the academy at LAFC, Mena Gonzalez, who's the head of Barcelona Academies USA,
Sure.
Calvin Duffrey, who is the head of Ajax Amsterdam Academy under 16s and down youth development phase, and Ivan Pignol, who is the assistant coach at AZ Alkmaar now. So those boys, they were here at Sundowns for 5 years. And when the partnership came to the end as per the growth, the then president of the club said, well, who is going to fulfill your role here at the club? And they recommended me, straight from under 11s to the head of the academy. So it was a little bit of a baptism of fire. At that time, I still wanted to coach. M Tigers was part of the club at that time. We had a very special group of under 17 players that were with Godfrey Sapula, that had just won Gothia Cup, one in China, one in Japan. And I took them straight to the ABC team, the whole team. The first 10 games were tough. We took 6 the first game. And you can imagine at a club like Sundowns, that was a disaster. Withstood the pressure for 10 games. Ultimately, the club felt that it would be better if I oversaw the program and then brought Floyd Moghali in to take the ABC team. 10 games in, and Thomas Nari, who's now at Baroka. And the team finished 5th in the league with basically 16, 17, and 18-year-old boys.
That's incredible.
Those boys,
Amazing.
90% of those boys are in the PSL right now. Promise and Kuma, basically Mkize. Glenn Bikey's at Hungry Lions, Totlejo Pizza at Hungry Lions. So all these boys have made professional debuts now. But it just takes, sometimes you just got to give them an opportunity. So, again, we're in that process. We have some brilliant coaches at the club who have played at the highest level, played in Europe, played all over the world. And the future looks bright for our disc team. We have another special group of under 17s coming along who are already in the disky team. So the PSL have done a fantastic initiative in having this disky league for the last 4 or 5 seasons, which sort of aligns with what they have in Europe with their reserve teams. And the future's bright. Currently, we have 14 players under the age of 21 out on loan, and those boys have all come through our academy. One of them out on loan has been with us since he was 11 years old.
Wow,
that's incredible.
So, before we probably go into more details, but you're under 17s. I think obviously there's this Gauteng Development League that was going on this season.
Yes.
I think there's this new team. I think it's called Horoya. What's the team called? That won two of the leagues. I think it was the under 13 and under 19.
Cathoris. Yeah,
Cathoris. Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about the team. Obviously I saw that Kaizer Chiefs won one of the leagues, and and I think SuperSport won the other one, and Sundowns lost to SuperSport in one of the finals, and so on and so forth. But what do you think of the level of development, especially in obviously?
Whoa, Silo, hang on, Silo. I know you're asking a good question. We've got the man driving in the seat there. Have we finished? Is everyone here satisfied with the About Shawn part? Because are we happy with the journey? Because Shawn's even dived into like the development. I'm looking at it.
I was bored listening to myself.
No, I mean, Shawn, you got IT consultant. What is it? Manager soccer, Manchester United Soccer Schools, head coach of Korea Albion, head scout at Sundowns, and then you got also assistant coach under the national under 20 team at SAFA, and now you're doing the youth, the head of youth and methodology at Sundown. So, just one thing I want to comment on before we.
I worked at United for a while.
I mean, it's what I like about all of it is the current role that you seem to be occupying at the moment. The fact that you've been placed in all these different positions gives you a great holistic view as to how to run the different elements of all the moving pieces of a football club. And when we're looking at modern football in particular, we talk about it. Settle, you talk about it week in, week out. The biggest issue at Manchester United is having a good football mind, a good technical director sort of mindset.
Yeah.
How is your progress in terms of all these different facets that you've played to get to this point helping you manage that at Sundowns at the moment? And then Settle can follow up with these questions.
I think it's a good question, and modern football has progressed to a point where you have many facets entering into the team: data analytics, analysis, strength and conditioning, nutrition, periodization, all these sort of things. And overall, it's become almost impossible for a head coach to manage these things. And that is why a technical director, sporting director, whatever people want to call them anymore, is so important in modern football. My firm belief is Ralph Ragnick's appointment at Man United is 18 months too late. He should have come in earlier. In that, maybe in Ole's one of his flaws was he was too sentimental in terms of Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan. Those guys are essentially the DNA of the club, but wouldn't have given him a no. And that's what sporting directors do nowadays. One of my best mates is a sporting director in Belgium, and that's usually most of his answers are no. So you have to look at the whole picture, the overall future of the club, and that's how I see myself in the future. Though I love being on the ground and coaching. Like currently, I coach the under 15 FAP team at Sundown, so that I can be on the pitch 3 days a week. And I started off with saying, these kids will keep you humble. They don't care that I'm the head of the academy. They just want a decent training session and a football match on the weekend. So that's why I continue to do it. And the approach now, which I think the South African media do, is when someone comes in, is appointed as the technical director, coaches feel that they may be threatened, but a genuine person who's coming in as a sporting director or a technical director has a holistic overview of the club. Maybe in Africa it's a different premise, but someone like Ralph Ragnick is come in, and that's why I negotiated 2 years after this 6-month interim, because he actually doesn't see himself on the pitch. He sees himself. Yeah, he sees himself as a person who will bring the club components together. Though I think in the DNA at a club like Man United, the academy, I heard a very good statement yesterday from Nick Cox, the head of the academy at Man United players. I mean, that was just a light bulb moment, because some clubs try and differentiate the two, and they cannot be. So Ole's done well, 16 debuts for academy players in his time in charge. I think he's ticked that box. So I think that's where football is moving in the modern era, and that's where Sundowns is going. And I think that's how I see my role at the club now, especially with the ladies team in the last 2 years falling into my portfolio. I also have to look at, and it's been a wonderful learning experience in terms of that, how different it can be. And that's where I see myself going, and where I think modern football will go in the future for the bigger clubs, definitely.
Right, Settle. Now we can move on to your question there. Go ahead, Settle. Let's jump on to it.
Yeah, the Tourist Academy from the Foff.
I was asking about that, because obviously I saw a couple of the results. There's a Twitter page I follow that was covering the finals, and they were posting, who's in the finals and what the results are, and so on and so on. Yeah, football stage. Yeah, so taking some videos and everything. So I saw this new team that obviously all the other finals were contested by at least one PSL team. I think the under-15s was Sundowns and SuperSport, and then Chiefs was in the under-13, under-17, and under-19 finals. And that Cathedral Academy was in 2 finals, and they won both finals. They won the under-19 final, and they won their under-17 final, and then Chiefs won the under-13 final.
Shawn, weren't you told like on the Friday that you were playing on the Saturday or something by Safa?
No,
I don't know. I think we had a chat.
They would have given me time to assemble a team. Yeah, Nick. Yeah. So because I work for SAFA as well as a national team coach, I know there are sometimes certain issues surrounding logistics, especially with COVID times and stuff like that. But we had entered a tournament in Cape Town in February for our under-12s, under-14s, and under-16s. The reason being, come October, we start assessing players for 2022, the following year. Even before then, we don't run trials on the 22nd to the 25th of December for the following year. I mean, that's not football, that's not planning. And our under-15 team was in Cape Town, and that's it. The under-15 FAP team that I have. So there's an interesting stat how Belgium run their national teams. They have 2 national teams per age group. Let's say under-16s. And the under-16 B team is the relative age effect team. July to December boys. They don't release any of them. So our under-15 FAP team and our under-13 FAP team are our RAE teams. All our boys are born July to December in those teams. They're usually smaller and behind in their development. And so we managed to assemble a team on the Friday night. 12 boys
for Sunday.
For the fixture. Saturday.
Saturday.
So and
that's ridiculous.
Unbelievably, we scored in the first 30 seconds. So we did for a while, and then SuperSport were deserved winners, 2-1 up, lesson learned from our side in terms of informing SAFA earlier. I think we'll change it to 6 months, but we as a club will be contesting in international tournaments next year, probably 3 international tournaments. We will be informing SAFA in the next week those dates, and whether we can fulfill some GDL fixtures and those time postponed, bring them forward will be important. But we need to start exposing our boys to international competition.
Where are you guys going, Shawn?
Huh?
Where are you guys going? Which tournaments are you going? Are you not allowed to disclose that yet?
I can't disclose as yet. But yeah, we would look.
Seems like
we lost Shawn there, but
maybe.
Shawn,
there we go. He's back.
Yeah.
As
I said it, we got cut off. You see, Nick, I did say
the Sundowns admin team's doing something there in the background. They know what they're doing.
So there's something interesting that you said. I know Claudio wants to touch on it in terms of the July to December thing. Claudio, I'm sure you've mentioned this on the show before.
Yes, no. I think it's a fascinating stat, and also I like the fact that you guys are considering that. And I know it's a European approach that you seem to be implementing it, but based on just statistics. And I think this is what fascinates me about your background, being an IT specialist and looking at the data. And we know modern football, it's very stringent on the data sort of compilation. But when we're looking at players born in, what is it? That's from January to March. They tend to have an upper hand because physically they develop. So the coaches tend to pick them at a younger age because they want to win. And I suppose that brings me back to the topic here being the youth football in South Africa. In terms of what I found growing up, there's the huge discrepancy between developing a player for the sake of a player being good and hopefully one day becoming a professional footballer versus a coach getting the most out of a player to benefit their own career. So I'm curious in terms of where Sundown draws the line in terms of going, we're running this really successful club. We've got a lot of players. I mean, if we compare our first team to most, we've got a bigger squad than usual. And now we're looking at all these younger players. So what is the end goal when we're looking at that from development of players and having the A and B team? And it's all good and well giving back to the football ecosystem as a whole. But how do we manage that process?
Okay. So first and foremost, it's a very good question. But first and foremost, we have to, especially in a country like South Africa, create better men. End of story. Not even football players, just better human beings. And football is the vehicle. An interesting stat from Ajax Amsterdam, and I speak to Calvin often. What do you think the pop-out rate is from their academy at Ajax Amsterdam at the top from a boy recruited at 10?
80%. It's got to be higher. They're world renowned for their academy.
I saw something incredible. What did I think I said the other day? There was 82 professional players playing in the European top leagues from the Ajax Amsterdam Academy. Currently playing right now.
So we agree they're the best.
Huge number.
They're the best.
Yeah.
We agree.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what their percentage pop out is from a 10-year-old to first team?
Is it 10%?
5%.
6%.
That's crazy.
6%. So who are we?
That's unreal. Yeah, that's true.
That's the best team in the world in producing players.
Yeah.
It just shows you, don't you think though that it just shows you how much of the pyramid, sort of situation or what you talk about, like literally it is a pyramid to get to the top, and so many players fall off that fall off that mountain, so the bottleneck is huge. It's massive.
Yeah. So Nick, if your pop out at the top is 6% at the world's best, and of course, remember they also recruited 16, 17. That's why the perception is it's 80% and stuff like that. But I'm saying from a 10-year-old boy.
10-year-old, yeah.
So, of course, they have many players to go on and play professionally, because if you get to 19 years old at Ajax Amsterdam, you're going to be a professional footballer. And then when you leave the club, you will go and
go somewhere
else. But now for us at Sundowns, where even in South Africa, not just us, many other good clubs. Tuks is a good example of promotion of academy players. The general consensus, and we had a meeting with our parents the other day. We had 64 boys sitting in the meeting room with their parents, and 2 of those boys are going to make it to our first team. Only 2. So what do we do with the rest? And we have to create opportunities for these boys, and not just either they be a footballer or they become an academic. It's a dual pathway. They have to run concurrently. They have to be in a situation, even post their football career, they are able to be in a sustainable career that can drive and feed their families. Now, I always say that football doesn't just change lives; it changes generations. So, if you can create a holistic human being, and he goes on to play professional football, marry someone, have children, send them to a good school, and you haven't just changed the footballers' lives; you've changed his kids' lives. Then you've changed his family's lives. So that is the I love the Afrikaans word, the doeleindig of actually academy systems. People think academy systems are to produce footballers. That is the what. It is not the why.
Yeah, fair enough.
Shawn, can I touch on what you just said? I think it's very important. I think a lot of these academies, they when they started out, they didn't have educational programs, or didn't have a set educational program to pair up with the clubs. So what do you think is the future in terms of that? Because I know obviously Mamelodi Sundowns paired up with Clapham High School, which is a high school that I went to. I think a couple of your boys went to school there and so on and so forth. And obviously, some of the Pretoria schools are complaining because now the team was too good as well. But what do you see? What do you see the future as in terms of? Do you see maybe Sundowns actually having its own school, similar to what like Tuks has for its players, or do you see it where you actually take the boys to the school to a school that teaches predominantly?
Yeah, it's an ongoing discussion with us. We've had the partnership with Clapham for going on 7 years now. I mean, Percy went to school there.
Yeah.
And they have been brilliant. The deputy principal, Johannes Peche, is a Sundowns nut.
He used to be the team manager when I was still there. So I used to be the captain, and then he used to be the team manager. And yeah, he loves Mamelodi Sundowns. I always used to have jokes with him, but yeah.
So,
Cello, is this the team that you played in that you never missed a penalty for? Is this the team? Is this?
I led the team. I led the team to the Benoni tournament semi-final. Yeah, man, I was a great leader.
They don't play in those small tournaments anymore. But the Sundowns guys came, but they put those away, bro.
Hey, man, listen, but the Benoni tournament it's one of the best high school soccer tournaments in Gauteng, man.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Yeah, like our under-16s qualified for the National Pan-African tournament on Saturday. So they're probably going to the finals in Ethiopia, not Benoni. So.
Hey, man, if you guys had the partnership when I was around, maybe I'd be playing the Sundowns right now.
That's true.
Listen, he is tall, 6'5". We could have used him at the back there.
Yeah, Clapham have been awesome. They've supported the program. We've built 2 more fields there, so we have 5 football fields, and we have some big plans in terms of the next 2 years in the development. We've just bought one of the high-rise buildings across the road from the school. That will be the residence from next year for our academy boys, and will be girls as well. We're looking at 110 apartments there. So we want to be the best in Africa. I was in Egypt 2 weeks ago, and what I saw from Ali and pyramids and Zamalek, these are things that need to be done. And the academy system is also about recruiting supporters. It has a multiple facet. How do you convert Celo's kids to be Sundown supporters? You don't buy Cello a T-shirt; you buy his kids a T-shirt.
Yeah. Community building.
Exactly. So there's lots of benefits to having an academy, and it's not just about generating footballers. Of course, that's is the main target, but we as I said, we currently have 14 out on loan under the age of 21 now. Nick knows at least 5 of them, and he can tell you their performances week in and week out. And I think some of them will play for Sundowns. So the partnership with us, with Tuks and Sundowns is also a partnership that we saw a massive gap in. Partnerships with universities, institutes of learning. As you said, we have 18 matriculants this year. 18 in matric.
Wow.
With the sports program Tuks are offering us, and now we'll probably have between 10 and 14 going to the university next year.
Hey, Nick is licking his lips there. Nick is licking his lips.
Varsity Cup team. Nick, Varsity Cup team.
Sure did I already had this
10 years ago, you would have 10 university students in a football team.
That's crazy. But also, Shawn, can I just say, Nick forgot his Goalloungetv shirt at home for a good purpose. He's wearing that Tuks shirt just to remind is here.
But I actually wanted to. I'm happy that you brought that up, Shawn. A lot of the guys had asked. It was big news at the time when Sundowns and the University of Pretoria struck this deal. I think maybe to hear from a person within Sundowns, what do you guys see the deal as, and how is it going to benefit you? How will it benefit us as an institution, us as a club, and how can the partnership grow going forward? Obviously, we have our own aspirations. Hopefully we can get to the PSL. But I think from what you will gauge, or what we'll gauge from what you'll say, is there is a bigger picture with this whole partnership.
Absolutely. The partnership, of course, we can start with the core items of the partnership is, of course, football, tucks, basically Sundowns requiring minutes and legs of young players that were not getting the opportunities in our first team. And it's not to say it's not because they're not good enough or because the first team didn't want them. If you go look at the data and stuff, the average age of a team that wins a Champions League is 27, and matriculant is 19. So there's already a disparity there. You need the experience. You need to know how to go and play in Morocco after an 18-hour flight. You land in the morning and you kick off at 3 p.m. That's what it is. And of course, in the NFD, with the great infrastructure and the great support that Tuks University has around their sports, the synergy was clear to see that they would get an opportunity to play and, of course, further their education. As I said, we were looking for a dual pathway. They run together. Their education and the football. Yeah, you can't say, well, all right, at 27, I'll start my degree because football's not going the way I want it to. You're all millennials. It's instant gratification. So you want everything at once. So that's where we were going with that partnership. And there's a new. We've activated the second leg of the partnership with Semli 2 weeks ago. Well, prior to that, but I was away in Egypt, so it was on pause for a little bit. So now there will be an exchange of medical expertise between the club and Tuks University, and we'll be offering the university placement opportunities for graduates from the university that actually felt they didn't know where they were going to go after they graduated, because there's no opportunities in football or whatever it is. So that's what we were looking at. That will also be something you'll see in January, where Kirsty has been fantastic, and those students will be coming to, because they can't all go to Nick at the first team. So with the partnership with the Blue Bulls, we sort of modeled the same ideas, and there's been exchange of knowledge between Tuks, the Blue Bulls, Mamelodi Sundowns, and that the partnership will grow from there.
That's interesting. Sorry, Nick, I just want to comment on the fact that you're talking about these partnerships. And one thing I like that you mentioned, obviously, the man. This goes beyond football. We're trying to set these players up beyond football and give them the best sort of platform. And it seems to me Sundowns are in the process of trying to cater for them and provide opportunities that aren't just related to the Sundowns. So from a partnership perspective and a branding, and a branding perspective, I think you mentioned community, whether or not it's intentional from a branding perspective and the brand loyalty, that is something that's very deliberate from Sundowns in comparison to other clubs, and really attributing to the success and the growth of the football club. And, when we look at a lot of different things, when we look at the performance on the pitch, always translates to gaining new supporters, but it's these micro sort of touch points from academy players to setting education. You do definitely create a long-term sort of sustainable partnership with these people, whether it is directly with the business or whether it's with the person. And that's something, I don't know if it's particularly deliberate from a holistic strategy or if it's something you guys are doing on the fly.
Yeah, it's deliberate. Something I've learned in development of human beings, not just development of football players. You have to be agile. and there's no set pathway or for success. I love these memes that go out with, start, success, straight line, and there's no such thing. You need to, for want of a better word, look at the individual first, see where they're going. Of course, we drop the ball sometimes. We've got it wrong before. But at the academy, we have Sam Mbata, Mandla Mazibuku, who were part of the School of Excellence program, very successful School of Excellence program, who brought their knowledge and expertise into the club, who are very valuable. I mean, Sam and Mandla at kids age between 7 and 13, and these guys are whiz kids. They're like geniuses. So it's about just giving them the support, letting them run with it. I mean, Mandla will be scouting in a funny story. He'll be in Mpumalanga at some tournament, and he'll phone me and he says, "Shawn, there's a kid here. We got to have him." And you all in football, you know that it's the next Messi and everything. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, man, but is he better than? He says, "Shawn, I'm putting him in the car now with his parents." Then I know. Yeah. I say, make sure the parents are with him. But then and they usually don't get it wrong. So I just support them.
What is the age? What are the ages that you take in now? Shawn,
we have boys at 9 and 10 years old
in the hostel that you guys have, or they're all local.
All local. Hostel is from 14, high school. Okay. We prefer to keep the younger ones within the family environment. We know what the family structures are like in South Africa. They're not very good. So we try to keep it as family as intense as possible until as late as possible, and then they come into the residence, usually a grade 8.
Okay, that's very important. I think.
Sorry, go ahead, Silo. Yeah.
No, I think that's very important, that whole family environment thing, because obviously I think growing up, I think Claudia will attest to this. There was a team which was probably the best academy team in South Africa. That's the team that produced Kermit Erasmus, Kamohela Mokocho, Masubuzane Zongo, and Planequela. All these guys.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
Listen, Shawn won't agree with you on that.
The Feyenoord partnership with SuperSport.
The Feyenoord partnership, exactly. So that team.
You've had better Sundowns teams. Come on, Shawn.
So I'm saying at that time, they were the best.
They were good. They were good.
They were so good. They were playing 2 age groups above and everything like that. And I remember there was some of the players. I'm not going to mention names, but some of the players later on in life, they didn't. That family aspect was lacking, and I think it's what you're touching on there, because the fact that they went too soon to their clubs, whereas maybe if they went at the age of 14, it would have benefited them more in the longer term. But because they were sent away at the age of 9 or 10 to the SuperSport Feyenoord Academy, certain lessons were missed out, and there was no one really actually teaching them as a parent to say this is what happens and everything like that. And that's why some of them aren't playing right now, and we were all looking at them and saying these guys are going to go overseas and playing for the best clubs in
Kermit's at us, Kamagelo's at FC Cincinnati and the MLS. I don't know who else from there.
And then there's the guy who plays for Cape Town City. He's a centre back. What's his name? I forget his. No. I forget his name. But he was also in the team. But yeah, you're right. So not many of them are still around. You know what I mean? Where is the best player in the team?
Well, to be fair, they're all in their 30s now, Silo.
They're 30. They're 30. I mean, but Claudio, whose career ends at 30? They're 30 years old.
Nearly. Look, I mean, Shawn can probably talk about this. In South Africa, it's not. We don't, and I think this is the development, sort of the professionalism. I mean, on our 1v1 show, if you guys haven't watched that, we launched that this week. Talkie speaks about the very difference, Talkie TK, when he was at Sundowns versus the rest of the clubs in South Africa in terms of a level of professionalism being there. So I do think that is lacking, and I do think unless that environment caters...
The clubs he was at. Let's not talk about other clubs in jest here.
But we can generalize to a certain extent, and this is kind of why I wanted to touch on like youth football and within South Africa and generally when we're looking at the landscape. You've got a club like Sundowns that ladies CAF champion. They were the first sort of club to take the initiative and be like, we're gonna start a ladies football team. Where's Chiefs? Where's Pirates? They haven't done that because they're not thinking bigger picture. They're not opening their gates to this sort of thing. Sundowns already progressive from that perspective. So when we're looking at fostering that sort of environment holistically, Sundowns are leading. And when we're looking at sort of a development side, so to your point, just to bring it back, Selo, with regards to that home environment, Shawn, you've already touched on the fact that we've got, developing a better man and or better person, better woman, better man, and that's, you need the right setup. You need the right background for that. And again, starts at a younger sort of level. But what I'm curious about, to think about is the data which you use to find these players. You spoke about getting a 9-10-year-old and someone seeing him saying, we need to take this kid. But when we're looking at player recruitment in particular, and we're modernizing the game and we're looking at specific data, how do you go about doing that? Are there specific things that you look for?
Are we talking about 9-10-year-olds?
From 9-10-year-olds to 15-16-year-olds, how does it
differ? So there's different criteria across the age groups. First of all, boys develop differently. We all know puberty comes between 12 and 14, 15 years old. So those factors can be taken into account, as well as sort of areas you come from in South Africa. You develop differently. It's well known. But when you, because Sundowns is getting to a point where now, and Selo touched on it, our GDL teams play up 2 years. End of story. There's no discussion. We need to lose football matches. Success and failure are the same coin. They have the two sides of the same coin. They are not divorced from each other. And you can only experience success if you've failed. And when you succeed, you have to fail to get to the next level. So these are items we consider when we're looking at building our teams for the Gauteng Development League, for tournaments and things like that. Though we are a high performance environment and we must win games. That is ingrained in our players from under 13s. Yes, we're here to have fun. Yes, you are here to play, but we do not divorce the winning from the development. And I'll tell you why. You put 2 kids in a garden with a ball, they'll create 2 goals and they'll play football to score goals and win. So you can't take that out of kids. So that's the first thing we look for when we are scouting. So I'll use an example. I'll go to the Randburg night tournament where there's 50 games going on at once, and sometimes I call it scouting fuzz. It feels like my brain becomes fuzzy because all the players start looking the same. But there are much better people in this country at scouting than I am. Tera, Mandla, Tebogo, Tebs at Tuks, they are far better than I am at that. So, and they can see talent. But I have a few tricks that I've picked up over the years when I scouted that young age group. First and foremost, guys, the referees and the LFAs know the best players. They go to hundreds of games. They go to hundreds of games a season. So develop relationships with referees. I never discuss players with parents. I don't interact with parents. I don't socialize with parents to keep myself away from forming biases. The second thing is, if you go and ask a 9-year-old boy who's the best player at the tournament, he will tell you, and he won't say himself. End of story. And whereas a 16-year-old boy will tell you he's the best player at the tournament. But a 9-10-year-old boy will tell you who's the best player. So these are little things that you pick up along the way and you watch. And then, of course, the kid who loves the game, the kid who loves the ball. And that is easy to see. They'll be involved in every action in the game. He won't look over at his parents when he does something wrong, all that sort of stuff. But most importantly, the game will end. He will walk off the pitch and he'll wander off to the back of the tournament with a ball and 2 of his mates and carry on playing. So those are little tick boxes I look at for kids at that age, because they are already looking to form a relationship with the ball, and all the other things we can start coaching and looking at. And those things sort of tick boxes for me for character, which ultimately at the pop out at the top is the most important, because everyone sitting in the change room in a Sundowns team should be talented.
Yeah. And then, so how do you manage the contracts? Yeah, no, that makes sense. So how do you manage? So the player's been with you from 10 to 9. Obviously, the parents now have gone with. They've said, okay, you've identified as the player having potential. They get to 16, 17, or possibly now they're 19 and they're on the brink of getting a professional contract. How do you manage that with regards to an agent, or do you advise them? Do you guys have someone internally broken? Because that sounds like a very messy and tricky scenario and can go horribly wrong if it's not handled
Generally
correctly.
it does. Generally it does. I have with agents, the first question I ask an agent, has he been to the boy's house? Does he know the mother? Generally they say no. So already I know what I'm dealing with. But I don't want to generalize or put everyone into the same bracket, but usually the agent has not been with us during that journey. They miraculously appear at 18, 19 years old, and we have to deal with them. And being at Sundown, some of the requests from agents can be, for want of a better word, ridiculous. And the boys never kicked a ball professionally. And sometimes we have to terminate and agree to go our separate ways. And once again, I'll quote Sam Bata. He says, Shawn, you've never got it wrong yet. And within 6 months, that boy's phoning you and begging you.
He wants to come back.
He either wants to come back or he needs you to help him find a club. And that agent is nowhere to be found. That's the general landscape in South Africa with agents. But the good ones who manage their boys disclose at 15 years old that they represent a kid is the ones that we like to do business with. Ultimately, the person who will have the boy's best interest at heart is a mother or father, as a parent. If they need legal advice, they can hire a lawyer and get advice. But we always tell the boys, your mom or dad will not negotiate a contract just based on money. And ultimately, that's why the top players in the world are represented by a brother or a father.
Yeah.
Including Messi, including Neymar.
Harry Kane. His brother only has one client.
And it's there.
And he's got pictures of him. And got pictures of him.
So that's dealing with agents is it's becoming tougher. And luckily, I have the support of the club when it comes to this. I'll give an example. We identified a boy during the current varsity cup, and all of a sudden demands for 150,000 rand a month for a salary
for a guy playing varsity cup.
For varsity cup,
150,000 rand.
Yeah,
isn't it a professional footballer asking for that? That's ridiculous.
So you first of all think it's a typo. So you
think it's 15.
1-0 down.
Maybe the guys put the decimal somewhere wrong, but that's
crazy. But Shawn, with I mean, I think Warren had asked a question earlier. One of our viewers, has there been interest from overseas for any of the players? We obviously have seen Sundowns players go on to bigger and better things, if you want to call it that. Over the ocean. Has there been interest in the last couple of years? And then also just a comment from my side. I've always said it. Sundowns is probably the only professional team together with probably Tuks, but Tuks is more from a commercial point of view, where you have a youth system from the age of, I know Sundowns is 8 or 9 years old. We've got ours from 5 or 6, but every professional team abroad have a youth system starting at 5, 6 years old. Yeah. But you've got Chiefs and Pirates starting theirs for I will name them and shame them at 13 or 14. And, Pirates, not even. Pirates have sort of sabotaged a youth system at Ramberg. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shawn, for a long time. And, how are you supposed to develop talent if you're starting to find players at 17 and 16 years old? So that's just a comment from my side. But you carry on, Shawn.
No, you can't. You can't.
True.
You can't. So in pedagogy, in the development phase of a child's brain, the sponge phase is between what I think you're an academic, Nick, and more educated than me, but it's from 4 until 10 years. 10 years old.
Yeah, sure. You got the right, Nick.
You got the right. Hey, man.
Ask Claudio me, bro. Ask Claudio
easy, man.
So that's where brain development comes from, and our big thing. And I'll go back to maximal training from Ted Dumitru. It's all about cognitive development of players. Decision making is a big thing now. Scanning is a big thing, though they've been around since football started. But you'll hear coach, he made a poor decision. But that decision is not made on that day. That is a learned process in the cortex of the brain. Yeah. Those pathways have been formed in the development phase of the child. Playing in the streets, climbing the tree, jumping off the wall, landing on his head, climbing out the tree. Now he knows he shouldn't do this. So by 16, 17 years old, those pathways are formed. Yeah. And I like to use an example. I've got friends in the medical industry. You may have a child have a stroke at 3, 4 years old due to some other reasons. At 13, 14 years old, you never knew this person, this child had a stroke. 16, 17-year-old, you have a stroke, there you're going to have it, a limp, talk funny. So the brain is, though the plasticity is there, at my age, my wife is Portuguese, I go and try and learn to speak Portuguese now, it's difficult. My sons pick it up quickly. And there it's in the proof. So starting development at 13, 14 years old, and that is why our players make debuts in the PSL at 23, 24 years old. You go to Europe, development starts at 6, 7, add your 10,000 hours, whatever people want to add,
call it,
years, you're at 17, 18 years old, making your debut.
Step in.
Yeah,
13, 14, you make your debut.
But do you not agree then, Shawn? I have asked that question already about the international, but I'm enjoying this topic in terms of the LFA system. And I think we've chatted about Panorama already. I grew up playing at Santon Football Club and Balfour Park. Those were good clubs, like good competitive youth football teams. Yeah. I mean, Tuks. I remember when Claudio and Celo played there. Tuks. I used to play Tuks
as well.
I mean, I remember playing.
Yeah,
I used to play Tuks in the Newcastle Holiday Inn competition, and that was a tough. That was, but like there must be
ice wars on the third floor.
Yeah. But I mean, for me, like I honestly think like there's such value in the LFA system, And I
Huge.
look at the models that they have in say the UK and other countries. They still have the amateur teams, and generally what should happen is the professional team should go to the Ramburg Night Series like you have, Shawn, and you go handpick the best, and everything should filter up to the best of the best. And I do feel there are coaches in this country, especially at amateur clubs, that do feel like these are our prized possessions. I think Ethan Brooks is quite a funny topic. I'd spoken about him 2 or 3 years ago. I was playing him against him in the GDL, and I just asked about him. I said, "Oh, he's a good player," and they said, "Yeah, get in line." And I said, "I'm not even inquired. Do you think I can get touched to get Ethan Brooks?" Like an amateur club like Panorama, we're trying to like hold on to. And for me, I feel, we should be tapping into the quality clubs, that the historic clubs that are in Johannesburg, that are in Pretoria, that are all over the country, and teams like Sundowns, Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, should be able to just handpick them, and there should be a smooth process. But I don't know, you've probably dealt more with this, Shawn. I don't know your thoughts.
Yeah, the amateur clubs, having come from there and played there, so they train twice a week. So within a month, the academy player is already a month ahead in 1 month in the number of training sessions. So the distance increases exponentially between the amateur clubs and the professional clubs. So that's why even us Sundowns now, we are finding it very difficult to recruit players at 16 and 17 years old. Very difficult. Because let's say our current under 17 team, that some are making their debuts in the disc and stuff, some of them played in the Gothia Cup for us at 10 years old. So they've had 7 years of development, and
of
then
4 days a week, essentially.
4 days a week.
Yeah.
And then you get a phone call. No, there's a top player at Panorama. He's 18 years old. Have a look. And I'm going, well, okay,
18, wow.
It's difficult. And not to say you have to exclude them, but I'm just saying already the foundations of their development is non-existent. And you have to look at the culture around the club as well. And I won't name some clubs, but we all know them. Like parents go there on a Saturday to drink from 9 until 4.
Hey, I know those clubs.
So, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But the kid has been around that environment the whole time. So now they come to Sundowns. And Nick, we've had some challenges during COVID. Now mom's 8 GNTs down by 11:30. And son's about to kick off.
It is hectic.
Yeah, it's something we look at. We look at the social structures surrounding the kid, and all these things are important in the development of the child. So kids don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they see you doing. As coaches, we have to set those examples. That's why I said it. I don't socialize with parents. Sometimes my wife will say to me, like people say you're really cold and unapproachable, but I can't. I have to set the example that I expect from an elite performance environment. And sometimes we as coaches have to learn from other environments. And during lockdown, I got a little bit binge watched this Formula One documentary.
Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive. Yeah.
And I had a light bulb moment in that football is not high performance. I mean, how many professional teams are there in the world? 1,000, let's say. Maybe 1 million professional football players. There are 22 Formula One drivers every year. That is it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want high performance environment, it's Formula One.
Yeah.
So, and and I thought, so now I'm doing a course I'm currently doing my master's program through the University of Lisbon, my master's degree. And I was very, very, very happy to see we had a person in the master's degree from.
Sorry, Shawn, did you say University of Lisbon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then your Portuguese isn't too bad. So you're learning.
No, they accommodate me and give me everything in English. So yeah, it's the faculty that Jose Mourinho and all of them went through. So that's why I'm doing my master's there. And in the master's program, we've got a guy, the team manager of Williams Honda.
Oh, wow.
And it's weird how that all came together, and my interactions with him is like, wow, that's just mind blowing how you guys do things. So yeah, that for me is the high performance environment.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shawn, do you mind if me asking you to elaborate on the topic that you're doing a master's on? Is it like a set master's, or is it something you're trying to figure out? Especially, I'd imagine from a South African perspective, you got a lot of interesting problems to unpack, especially with your on the ground experience.
So yeah, the topic for my master's right now is though I'm still trying to find my way with COVID. I was supposed to finish in June this year. It didn't happen. And at the rates South Africa unvaccinating themselves, we may not be able to travel next year either. But the ecological approach to football development, youth development, and it's a constraints-based approach to problem solving within small-sided games. So setting constraints without coaching. So I don't know if it doesn't make sense. Just I'll elaborate. So,
would you say constraints or conditions? Would you say constraints or conditions?
You see, that is the confusing word. In Europe, conditions means rules, but constraints means you set up the training session with limitations to get the output of what you want.
Okay. So you can't pass the ball back as a constraint.
Correct. But why would you not want to pass the ball back? We want to maintain possession in the opposition's half. But you don't tell them that. You set the constraint.
And you try to achieve your objective that way.
Correct. And then your debrief after the training session is Claudia, what were we trying to achieve? Well, we couldn't pass the ball backwards. No. That's the what. Tell us why we couldn't do that.
Emphasis on attacking football.
We were in their half maintaining possession, and you want us to stay there. Brilliant. That's what I'm looking for. So now we're creating, we're always saying we want footballers who are problem solvers. So put them in an environment where they have to solve problems. Create problems for them that are put their talents into overload, not the person, because sometimes they don't respond very well, but put their talents into overload and in uncomfortable situations where they have to solve a problem. And don't you find when you solve a problem, even at this age, it's a sense of achievement?
Fair enough.
Not learn from that. But when someone hands you the answer, there's no learning process taking place. So that's the way the academy systems are moving into Europe, constraints-based approach or ecological approach methodology of coaching. And that's what I'm looking to do.
I think that's, and I'm assuming with regards to your masters, you're going to obviously try and implement a lot from what you've learned into the Sundowns Academy. But just to sort of close off with regards to the ladies, they're the hot topic at the moment. Are you looking at creating a sort of academy similar to what you have for the boys with the girls, seeing the success that you have, and maybe you can just quickly touch base with us with regards to how the tournament went and the successes that Sundowns have.
Just before we continue there, we're not deliberately saving the ladies for last, even though it is a nice way. I mean, they were further up in the program though. We've just got caught up talking about everything else, but this is a juicy topic there, Shawn. So let's hear the success there from the ladies side.
Well, the head coach Jerry Chavalala has done a fantastic job with the ladies team. My role was to support him technically, tactically, and in terms of other aspects of the game that were not in the ladies team as yet, in terms of performance analysis, performance conditioning, all those sort of things. So we've actually had the ladies team for 10 years, and with some remorse, probably only taking it seriously for the last 3 or 4 years, and really stepped up the in ensuring that these ladies have a better environment to exhibit and their talents, that have a platform to perform at the top level. And with we had a little bit of insight previously as to what was going to happen in CAF. We decided that as a club that we were going to be as professional as possible, and many people mistake being paid as being professional. It isn't. It's professional is a behavior, and making sure that we behave like professionals first and foremost. So that was the training program, the periodization, the support, doctors, medical. For example, our return to play injured players fall under the men's medical department. So our guys in the gym, Stuart McGregor, Godfrey, the physios in the men's team ensure that the return to play for the ladies is done exactly the same. They're there every day. They're part of the process. So that's wonderful from our senior team. In terms of our conditioning, Rido, who's been with the Banyana, also does the conditioning program for our ladies teams, which allows them to perform more football actions, better football actions and maintaining all those football actions on a continuous basis. So that was, and it has to improve. We have dropped the ball along the way, but it will improve. Myself, we've put into place the ensuring that games are recorded, games are analyzed, players get the games. They're taking them to the next level. So when we qualified when the team won the league and we knew the Champions League was going to come, we set those behaviors in that team environment into place, led by Jerry and Agnes. And I laugh with Jerry. He's a 10-year overnight success. So he's been great. He's got the team playing wonderful football. There's so many talented players in that team. And then the question that Nick was asking, there's 4 15-year-olds in the team. In our under 13 GDL team, we have 2 girls. So next year we will have a girls academy team, and it will dovetail with Tuks as part. And the next phase is our partnership, because Tuks have a ladies team in the Cecil League, and one in the LFAs as well. So it will also now provide an opportunity if they don't get promoted to the National League, which I think they should. It would be great for the university and give Nick some extra work to do. Offer us some good competition and, of course, a pathway for some of our ladies. So just to maintain the DNA of the club, we have girls in the team that are approaching retirement age. Not saying that they will retire, but we've implemented the dual pathway system with the girls as well whilst they are playing. You have Rhoda, who started her CAF licensing, and the Siwe, who has started her football conditioning program and learning and mentorship under Rido. Andile Sticks Lamini is started her coaching badges. She comes into the academy to do our little chickens, our little under 11s and under 13s. So whilst they're still playing, the
still
DNA
coaching.
is still part of the process. And that's how we're doing it with the ladies. And then hopefully go and win a couple of more Champions Leagues before other teams start taking it seriously. Though CAF licensing state by 2023, if you don't have a lady senior team,
you can't compete. You
can't compete.
Yeah, which is good.
So what, you got Chiefs and Pirates in a bit of trouble? They need to get something sorted quite soon.
Nah, they will. But
they'll partner with one of the teams.
But also you can if you look at it in Europe, Real Madrid, Manchester United only started their ladies teams 2 seasons ago.
But Arsenal have been cleaning up. Arsenal because they've been doing it for years. Liverpool ladies.
Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, your Chelsea's, your Man Cities, and especially your Arsenal. Arsenal is probably one of the teams we know the longest that have been cleaning up. So they've taken women's football more seriously than the other teams. Cool, Man United is starting now, but even now, Man United's conditions for the women is not as good as the men's.
That's why the coach left.
That's why the coach left. That's why the coach went to the US, because the conditions are not great, and that you can't get a team to be the champions of the league in England if you don't give them the same facilities. Because I know Man City's facilities for the women is the same as the men. They train in the same facilities as the men.
They even eat with the men.
Exactly. You see, so that's why Man City is doing so well and Chelsea is doing so well, is because they actually put their time and effort into their club. So, and Barcelona obviously has been cleaning up in Champions League as well. Because
how do you get more fans into the stadium?
For women?
No, how do you get more fans into a stadium?
Success on the pitch.
And
definitely.
If your women are having success as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing from the cultural perspective, is as soon as the inequality is quite overt, then it becomes a real problem. And a man who 100%. Takes his job, or woman taking their job seriously and can see the inequality in the conditions, then it's stark and it's hard to do your job. But also, fun fact, from a Goal Lounge perspective, guys, our co-founder, Christy Jade Cunningham, did bring Liverpool out to play Sundowns Ladies a couple of years ago. And they played again. Yes, yeah. So Christy was responsible for making that happen from a discovery perspective, which is quite interesting.
It was wonderful.
And it's awesome to see. And that's why I think I've got a soft spot for these Sundowns Ladies, because I've seen the progress over the last couple of years, and it's chalk and cheese. And I spoke to Andile Dlamini last week. I had the privilege of meeting her, and I was seeing her progress from Walter Sisulu to playing for the Sundowns Ladies. And just from her conditioning perspective, the development over the last 2 years has been stark. So that's also a testament to the condition that you're providing for the ladies from the Sundowns side.
Even our men's goalkeeper coach, Wendell and Wendell Robinson and Marcus Mashilo, are involved in the coaching of the goalkeepers in the ladies team right now. Koketso Chabalala is doing it. He's one of our academy products as a goalkeeper. At 26, he's decided that he doesn't want to pursue a professional football career, but because he's been with the club for 5-6 years, he has the DNA in him. So he has been put with the ladies, and the girls love him because he's still at that. He's a young goalkeeper coach who connects with them at the player level and at the coaching level. So
and he can still jump around as well and show them how it's done.
Exactly.
But also, I just want to comment on you spoke about obviously creating a better person. When I'm looking at Laminia, obviously she's joined not too long ago. Lamini, the way in which she carries herself, how she spoke, we had her in front of a press room full of media. And I was most impressed with the things that she said and her ambitions and the goal. And it's very clear. It's chalk and cheese, again, in comparison to what you get from other footballers in terms of their ambition. So, again, it's testament to what you guys are doing.
Tough.
Yeah, and there's just one last thing from my side. I think, Nick, I know we need to wrap up, but you spoke about, obviously, the amateur club levels, then the professional club levels. And we touched on the sort of discrepancies between Sundowns and what they're doing, what the rest, they're pretty much setting a standard for everyone else. And Shawn, you spoke about the differences in development. And now you guys are looking to go overseas to kind of these overseas tournaments to kind of give a basic competition or good standard of competition rather for your players. Because how do you mitigate that in terms of going, I need to develop this player, but the conditions they face on a stand, it's not challenging enough for them.
Yeah,
female, and I mean, I suppose this translates from your female football now as well. You're setting the standard. So how do you find decent enough competition?
Yeah, that's so yeah. Even for myself, I've had to start following more women's football. I think Sao Paulo won the Copa Libertadores on Saturday. Yeah, the ladies. Barcelona beat Chelsea in September in the final, the Champions League final. Emma thought she was going to win the treble with Chelsea, but Barcelona were leading 3-0 in 8 minutes. So it was glad to, and I was glad to see Alexi win the Ballon d'Or for Barcelona. So yeah, in terms of the women's game, it's the standard has been set, but there's lots of talent in Africa. What we saw in Egypt, wonderful talent, wonderful football players from Morocco, Ghana, Egypt. I mean, the team in Egypt that was there, Wadi Degla, they have a fantastic program, women's program. Like the Egyptian Premier League, the 18 teams in the Premier League all have women's teams. You can't be in the Premier League without a women's team. So never mind a CAF.
That's a standard.
It's a standard. From the team bottom of the table, Ismaili have a women's team.
Great.
So I think that's the standard set by countries like Egypt and Morocco. So we've got to get there. Our women are owed it. They raise our children. They raise our men. They raise our men who are playing in professional football teams. So why shouldn't they get the opportunity? And then in terms of development, you touched on there, Claudia. The reason to go overseas is not to say that there's no competition in South Africa. There is, of course, there is. But I mean, you can ask Nick, come and watch an under-17 Tuks Sundowns game on a Tuesday night. It's hammer and tongs for 90 minutes, and the score is never more than 1 or 2, never. So we can't say that. It's about globalizing our boys' environment and setting,
exposing them to something different, I guess.
Yeah, like people say exposing, but you say you exposed when you travel to England to play in the Nike tournament, but what are you exposed to really? You go to a hotel, you go to a football pitch, you play Man United, you go back to a hotel. So it's not just that. We're looking at tournaments that have some sort of cultural aspect to it.
Cultural value,
There's days off in the tournament. Those have been very important to us, which allow the boys to go to, like we went to Cape Town now recently in October. The chairman made sure that the boys go to Table Mountain. Some of them will never go to Cape Town again in their lives. And that little thing is about saying, okay, guys, so the thing I read about in the book actually exists. Expanding their brain, and it's not all about football. By the time a 10-year-old is 21 years old, I was saying to someone now that I don't think the current structure of schools will exist anymore. Post-COVID, I anticipate there'll be a big shift in how schooling is done, which will provide our kids with more time to themselves to learn other things that interest them. And traveling overseas is part of this process to see what the world is about.
And it's very apparent. You can tell the difference between someone who's got worldly knowledge versus someone who's restricted to their little hometown. It's very chalk and cheese in terms of whether or not how they carry themselves in a conversation. And I like the fact that you, in a way, you're keeping the mind fresh. And if you keep the mind fresh, the mind is malleable and it's easier to want to learn as well as learn. So that's an interesting. It's a huge mind shift.
Yeah, I think you 100% Sundowns set in the standards across the board. I mean, obviously the PSL team are hammering Celo's team there in the PSL, and then obviously Shawn, you know, obviously it's always been good to, you know, I've interacted with you over the last couple of years, but obviously your teams have always set the standard. You know, always. You know, if you've beaten Sundowns or you've drawn against them or you get a good result, you know, it is something to look at. But you know, it's very good to hear. And I think Claudio, you've asked some really good questions. Celo, you too, with regards to the intricacies, with regards to what goes behind the methodology per se, exactly what your sort of your title is. But just to close off, Celo, Claudio, any questions, final thoughts for Shawn? And then Shawn, I'll end it off with you. Final thoughts from your side. Celo, you go first.
I think on my side, man, it's just thanks for coming on the show. Firstly, Shawn, I think it's you've obviously shared so much knowledge with us. I think we need obviously more people like yourself, obviously within the football structures, and it's great that you obviously doing this with Sundowns. And I think more clubs need to obviously put some time and effort into the development structures, into the women's teams as well. So let's hopefully hope that in the short term that obviously our football will obviously benefit from people like yourself. But Sundowns has already benefited from a person like yourself with the main team and the women's team. So so let's get the other teams up to par as well.
Yeah. Definitely. They need to, guys. It's
imperative.
It's imperative. It's we're here to help. I mean, nothing's a secret in football. Nothing is a secret in football. You just got to be willing to learn, sit down, talk, spend some time with other people. As Nick has already said, we always have great conversations around football and discussing players, and you know, you can learn something from anyone every day, even a 10-year-old. That's how I approach my working relationships. I'm usually how can I put it, the most uneducated in the room. I like it like that because
that's the best scenario to be in.
And then you just let other people teach you something. So but thanks, guys. Thanks for the time. You know, I talk football all day. I love the fresh off the press logo, and it's weird. I saw the Twitter interaction today, and it's weird. I only saw the other way once it had been. My first meeting was fresh off the press.
Really?
I thought you used the asterisks because you didn't have space to put the whole word.
I mean that could definitely be a reason, but I think I think for us it's just because Goal Lounge it's meant to be an uncut channel for people to express whatever they want. We don't want a sort of censored approach where you feel like you have to tell the traditional way of media. So it's kind of going, we want experts to tell their story in a way that says, however, freely express yourself.
Any way you want to say it.
And I think just lastly from my side, Shawn, again, like just to touch on what Celo and Nick was saying, thank you very much for joining us. We're super, super privileged to have you. Yeah? So that's the first thing.
No, thank you.
The second thing is, from a female football perspective, interesting fact, in my opinion, I heard someone from a broadcasting level say, it was mainly regarding the netball team. I mean, we've got a great netball sort of squad who doesn't get necessarily the same financial backing. And one of the huge comments that they said was that the numbers just aren't there in order to support it from a broadcasting level. And my whole argument when I'm looking at it is that the numbers will never be there unless you tell the story, unless you broadcast it, unless you put it there. No one's going to adopt the story. And we've got a traditional legacy from, you know, sport being male dominant, et cetera, and all these other sort of facets that become put in the hero spotlight. So we need to start breaking it down. And that's what the Sundowns Ladies are doing, which is fantastic. And we'll start seeing that to sort of unfold in other areas, hopefully. And then the last thing I just want to touch on is that Sundowns are partnering with a lot of different people and doing all the right things. If you ever need something from a branding perspective with regards to football and comedy, Goallounge are always here for
I
you.
love it. I love it. Put
well done,
Goallounge
well
on.
done, Claudia. But let me tell you something. You touched on a very important point there. And a closing statement from me. Our new chairman is a young man who understands the social media environment very well. I think that's where his education and passion lies. And once we knew this journey was starting with the women's team in January 2020, just before COVID came, and then we were in lockdown. Even myself, I put myself on a social media course because I'll be honest, I thought TikTok was for 13-year-old girls to do dancing on. That's where I was at. I hadn't heard of all these other platforms and stuff like that. And the story being told by our social media now, and this is a compliment to them, it has improved 1 million-fold in the last 18 months.
I've been following the progress. It's been great.
And they've been unbelievable. I don't know what's going on in the background. I just know how things work now and how they do things, because I thought, no, if we're going to go that way, let me learn how it's done. So I did that, and then I'm seeing now the women's journey is being told on a daily basis. The retweets, the interactions, the live, I don't know, Instagram going. I mean, I get that all the time on my phone now. Someone going live. Now that's where you're going. The story has been told, and now people are
that's important. Yeah.
Listen, hopefully our national team can adopt such qualities in terms of their social media, because unfortunately a little bit behind, but hopefully there's better times to come. But Shawn, it's been great.
They're taking team photos with a cell phone still.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's of a piece of paper. It's unreal, unbelievable. But listen, we hope for the best for them. We want them to be at the World Cup, potentially, maybe a replay. It looks like it might be off the cards now, but we back them nonetheless. We back them nonetheless.
14.2 states. The referee's decision is final.
Yeah, unfortunately. But Shawn, thank you so much for coming on board. I think everyone said thank you already. Guys, it's been real. Thank you to all the guys that dropped comments, for watching. Shawn, hopefully we'll have you on again in the near future. And tune in next time, guys. I think we'll be back on tomorrow for pre-match Muti, building up for the Premier League action. I know there's Premier League action this weekend. This week, tonight.
Come on,
West Ham is leading against Brighton 1-0. Southampton leading 1-0 against Leicester, and then 0-0 Watford, Chelsea, 0-0 Wolves and Burnley.
Yeah, we better let you guys go watch that football. But we'll be back on tomorrow, pre-match Muti. We'll be chatting about the weekend and probably these fixtures in the week. So yeah, I don't know how we end the show off, Claudio. Do we just say cheers? Because I know we've got cheers.
Oh wait, I didn't end the button. Oh, we're still live. Hey.